Simple diffusion is the tendency for particles in a solution to even out their concentration in a space over time. While individual particles have random movement, as a group they move directionally from high concentration to low concentration. The solute will move down its own concentration gradient, ignoring other possible solute gradients. A concentration gradient represents the change of solute concentration over time. Two things determine how easily a particle can passively diffuse through the plasma membrane of a cell: its charge and polarity, and its size. If a particle is polar and charged, then it'll have a hard time getting through the polar part of the plasma membrane's phospholipids. Likewise, if this molecule is too big, it'll have a hard time fitting in between the individual phospholipids and proteins inside of the plasma membrane. One example of diffusion in our bodies is oxygen diffusing into the bloodstream. When cells are deoxygenated and there's a low concentration, oxygen will diffuse into them, so oxygen can be brought to our bodies and make us function.
There are many types of passive transport through a plasma membrane, but this type of passive transport is special. This is facilitated diffusion, which use two main types of transport proteins called channel and carrier proteins within the plasma membrane. Because of the plasma membrane's tight pores and hydrophobic center region, this prevents normal diffusion between substances that are too large or have a charge. They move the concentrations of these substances from high to low. This is a channel protein. They serve as a corridor to allow substances through the plasma membrane. Some even have gates that act as a facilitator that can close and open the passive transport through the channel through electrical or chemical stimuli. For example, the sodium ion channel closes and opens based on perturbations in the cell membrane. Secondly, we have carrier proteins, which alternates between two conformations to a solute across the membrane. For example, GluT1 is a common carrier protein in almost all animal cells, which is used to transport glucose across the membrane. In conclusion, facilitated transport helps the movement of both large and charged substances through the plasma membrane. Thank you for watching.
Osmosis. Osmosis is the passive transport of water across a membrane. Water molecules are transported from the higher to lower concentration of free water molecules. Cells can be affected in different ways by osmosis depending on how much solute is in the solution outside the cell compared to inside the cell. For example, if the solute concentration in the solution was lower than that of the cell, then the solution would be considered hypotonic. In this case, water would enter the cell. Under these conditions, plant cells become turgid and gain the ability to support the entire plant. Animal cells, however, will lyse as too much water enters. This difference between the cells' responses occurs because plant cells have cell walls that hold the cell together. Another example is if the solute concentration in the solution was higher than that of the cell, the solution would be considered hypertonic and water would leave the cell. Under these conditions, plant cells become plasmolyzed and begin to die. Animal cells become shriveled under these conditions and lose the ability to function. If the solute concentration is equal in the solution and cell, then the solution is considered isotonic. The water would move in and out of the cell at the same rate. Plant cells would become flaccid in these conditions and lose the ability to hold up the plant as a whole. Animal cells thrive under these conditions and retain their proper shape. Proper hydration is important in humans because the cells need to be in an isotonic solution to function properly and keep the human alive. Water is able to cross cell membranes through specific water channels or aquaporins. These channels work exclusively for water molecules and do not allow other ions or small molecules to pass.